A reading from the Acts of the Apostles. Then certain individuals came down from Judea and were teaching the brothers, "Unless you are circumcised according to the custom of Moses, you cannot be saved." And after Paul and Barnabas had no small dissension and debate with them, Paul and Barnabas and some of the others were appointed to go up to Jerusalem to discuss this question with the apostles and the elders. So they were sent on their way by the church, and as they passed through both Phoenicia and Samaria, they reported the conversion of the Gentiles and brought great joy to all the believers. When they came to Jerusalem, they were welcomed by the church and the apostles and the elders, and they reported all that God had done with them. But some believers who belonged to the sect of the Pharisees stood up and said, "It is necessary for them to be circumcised in order to keep the law of Moses." The apostles and the elders met together to consider this matter. Well, I'm sure there was some spirited discussion about this. This is the story of course, the continuing, exciting, explosive expansion of the church as Paul and Barnabas and others are going out and taking this message of Jesus out into the broader world, to the ends of the earth. And as it's expanding and people are coming into contact with this word of Jesus, the healing energy of the Spirit as embodied in those early church believers, those early disciples, people are saying, "Yes, please, I want to be a part of this." And then they're coming up against, what does it mean to be joined and grafted into this body? And of course, since this has begun as a movement of the people of Israel, Jesus himself an adherent Jew to the very end, here comes the question, what does it mean for the male followers who are ritually and customarily circumcised just a week or so after their birth? And so how do we graft this ritual to these new believers? And of course, with full-grown adults who are not interested in having any unnecessary elective surgeries, this was causing an impediment to those who believed and wanted to join in this movement, in the way, in the church, but did not want to do it that much. So we have a crisis in this early faith community where the elders are grappling, well, what does it mean to accommodate this whole new group of people, these Gentiles who are not going to take that step, but who nonetheless want to belong? Where can we adapt our rituals? Where can we make exceptions? Where can we accommodate new realities and meld them in? And of course, it's not about, not everything goes. We don't need any of our traditions. This is very, in its way, deeply Anglican and very deeply Episcopal. We talk in the Episcopal Church about holding together always tradition and adaptation in equal measure. And the brilliance of our church comes in the tension when we do not just willy-nilly change things that have once advisedly been established, as our prayer book says in its preface. But neither are we too stiff in admitting accommodation where it is necessary in new contexts, new cultural contexts. And that's what being faithful Christian community is meant to be. It's not simply having a rule book and never deviating from it. It's taking those deep principles. What is it that essentially makes us Christian? What is it essentially that makes us, in our case, Episcopalian? What is it that ties us to the deepest and most essential principles of being a follower of Christ? And then how do we adapt that to the cultures in which we find ourselves and the changing cultures in which we find ourselves? So the church has always struggled with this. We have this wonderful account from the very earliest days. I won't spoil the surprise and tell you how it turns out, but clearly this is a matter of urgency for them to resolve. Is it possible for Gentile men to be added to the number without going through circumcision? We'll wait for the next following chapters to find out. But let us think in our own time about the places in our own life where we think there might be people whom we could reach with this glorious gospel message, with this message of hope and joy, but there's some impediment standing in their way. How do we, the church, the faithful, respond faithfully to those who would like to join our number, but there may be some obstacle that they are having a hard time getting past? How can we reach out to them and in faithfulness to what is true and deep and essential in our own faith, but also finding the accommodations and the adaptations that allow even more to be joined and added to our number? That's what this whole early movement of the church, that's what the book of the Acts of the Apostles is about. It's about how this essential truth went out and captured the hearts and the minds of everyone whom God created, everyone who is who God is calling to join our number. Let us be creative, let us be adaptive, let us be joyful, and let us be faithful in bringing every person we can to the love and knowledge of Christ. May God be with you this day. May God bless you and keep you this day and always. Amen.